This is more of a comedy video. Can you get potentially any good stuff out of it? Yeah, but I just got to show you the comedy of certain things. So we're doing an oil change on this car, as well as changing out the front brakes and brake pads and rotors, and then we got to change out the oxygen sensors and 2 of the 3 belts because, well, 1 belt's missing. So anyways, I just want to show you where the oil filter location is. It's just one of those it's one of those laughable situations where the designers of the car, you know, they were laughing. So let's go under here. So we are under actually the driver's side portion of the car, and I don't even know if I can get my phone in here, but I'm looking to see how accessible this is. And yeah, it's way up there, right? But what you have to take into account, you have to take into account what the oil is going to drip on. So maybe they were thinking about extra undercoating during these oil changes. I mean, I guess that's my guess. Yeah! It has actually been quite a while since I've had my hands on a Jag, and I don't miss it at all. So, anyways, today on What's Up Guy Garage, we're going to be doing a couple of maintenance items and parts replacements on a 1997 Jaguar XJR. Thought it was like XJS or something like that, but it's an XJR. It is the supercharged version. The car itself is in generally good shape. It actually recently won a trophy, and it looks like we've got, so number one issue right here. I'm sure you know what that is. That would be mice or squirrels or chipmunks or whatever. Now, normally with any vehicle, you wouldn't want to have moisture inside, but I kind of do want to address something here. Now, I've actually had this trunk open for a little bit, and when I had taken out this little panel right here, the panel actually has a nice kind of wet feeling to it, so I've got it sitting in the sun on my plow, seeing that I never ended up using my plow this year. But anyways, right inside of here, I don't know if you can see this, but see all those little marks right there? That's all water and moisture. And that is definitely something, just to explain, like, see, this is the trunk, okay? This is where the battery resides, which is in the trunk, but you see that massive amount of wiring harness? You see this box right here that says fuses on it? Just open this up real quick. We just manipulate this to get it open. So inside of here, well, granted, you know, these fuse areas seem to be fine. Having moisture inside of any car is no bueno. No good, not a good idea, it's junk. To show you how much moisture is in here, these boxes, they're not crushed because being crushed. They are actually moist. Look at this whole side of the box here. This is actually wet just from sitting inside of that trunk right there. So that is that's one of the things about these Jaguars that I do not like, and that it's the fact that these things are an electrical nightmare. Fortunately on this, we've only got a couple of electrical nightmares to deal with. One is replacing the oxygen sensors, which is 4 of them. And that's no big deal. It's just going to be a pain just because it is what it is. We're not working with a lift here. We're actually working on the ground, just like I always work. So we're going to be replacing the front rotors and pads on this thing. Hopefully I don't come across any issues because the customer actually supplied their own parts. Normally I don't like to work that way, but it is what it is, and if it's not right, it's just, yeah. So, and then we're also going to be doing an oil change, which this car right here I think takes 8.5 quarts. So we've got 9 quarts of oil, and look at every bottle. Look at that. You see the moisture on there? So Yeah, we've got some kind of a water intrusion issue. I will check the rubber seal, see if there's any issues, but I'm not thinking that's where the water's coming from. It's just not a good idea to have water in. It's not a good idea to have water in any car, but especially in, I guess, especially in a Jag. So, anyways, if you want to watch this episode from What's Up Guy Garage, you already know what to do. So let's get into it. So keep in mind that safety is always something that's important. So when you're raising or jacking a vehicle, make sure that you're on a level surface, at least as much as you can be. We jacked it up using my Daytona jack from Harbor Freight. We have 2 jack stands placed in strategic positions right along the crossbeam that goes in between the left and right side front part of the car. There's a little... not like it's an area, but there's an area where you can actually place those jack stands. Then we've got the front wheel off here. And they just used my impact gun. This is a there's 7/8 bolts that are on there. There's obviously 5 of them. Pop your wheel off. On the back side of the caliper, because obviously we're going to be removing the caliper to replace the rotor and the brake pads. There are these little caps that are on the back side of the caliper that keeps the contaminants and debris out from right there where that socket's going in. And that is a 7mm Allen wrench that goes in there, or Allen socket. You got a top one here, and then you've got a bottom one right here. Hopefully it's in the shot. So we're going to take those 2 bolts out. That'll allow us to slide the caliper out of the way. I'm going to get a caliper hook, and I'm going to see if there's a location that's safe to be able to hang the hanger. Probably right here. And this is actually something that I noticed, which I feel like I wouldn't be surprised about this car, but there's actually a ground strap that's attached to the brake line, that's attached to the body of the vehicle in a sense, the metal structure, that was attached right down there. And you can see there's a bolt that's connected to the wheel sensor. I don't know if that's something that's supposed to be there. This is a Jaguar, so literally, you think I was kidding? Every piece of, part of this car, I'm surprised the struts for the hood don't have some kind of like sensor on them to let you know that the hood's open like at specific degrees or whatever. I just think it's funny. It's just one of these things why, I don't know, I just don't like working on Jaguars. I don't. See what I did is I just took my caliper hanger and I found a little spot. There's like a little second or third hole that's right there that the caliper hook seemed to just go into. And it's ready so that when I pop this off, I could actually hang it on the actual hook and not put any pressure on both the sensor wire and or the brake hose. So now you can see we've got the bolts backed out. You can see that piece right there. This is the bolt backed out of its pocket. Same thing down here on that one right there, backed out of its pocket. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screwdriver and just wedge it right in here and start to pop this pin out of its little spot, just like that. We could take it out of the way all the way. Same thing on the bottom. Just do the same thing. Just get in there and kind of carefully, one-handedly, pry it out of there. It's not working with one hand. Hey, there we go. Don't lose it forever. But there you go. Just remember the orientation. It's really easy. It's not like you can mess up and go backwards. You know what I mean? So yeah. So there you go. Pop that off. We're good to go. Now we're going to take a screwdriver. We're going to actually put it in between. This is the caliper mounting bracket, which is this piece right here. This attaches to the back side of the actual hub, and then this piece right here, or the knuckle, whatever, the steering, and then this is the part that we're actually taking off. And sometimes you can pry it off by hand, sometimes you have to use like a screwdriver, whatever. I definitely am not going to be able to do this with one hand. Looking at these brake pads, I am really not exactly sure why they wanted the rotors and pads replaced. They're still in pretty good shape. You can see the taper is actually still present on the inside pad as well as the outside pad. And it does seem to be wearing fairly evenly, maybe a slight bit more on the outer pad, but not anything that I'd be concerned with. I do notice that, well, maybe that, it seems like this little plate, it looks as though that little plate has maybe slipped. Not that that should cause any issues, but you can see how that brake pad is retained in there. It's got like a little, claw that grabs the inside of the actual housing to that piston, which this is the caliper right here. Those are the brake pads, those two things. Like I said, that's the rotor. These are lug studs. That's my caliper bracket, and I'm just going to toss the caliper right on the bracket for now and take those brake pads out. And then we'll continue on with the process, because what we're going to want to do now is see that bolt right there. We're going to want to remove that bolt there and that bolt right there to actually get the caliper bracket out of the way. Now, I wasn't able to keep the caliper bracket in that location safely. What I didn't like is I didn't like what it was doing to the hose. It was actually binding up the hose. So I ended up attaching it to the upper suspension arm. And now I'm going to go ahead and go after those two bolts on the backside. Bolts on the backside measure up to either be a 17mm or an 11/16. There's actually a couple of different ways that you can kind of approach this to break it free. If you can get an impact in there, that's easy. But what I'm doing is I'm basically showing you hand tools to get this job done. You can either go with the left side, which is a big hammer, and then a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, or you can go with the big boy right here. When I'm just going to go for the big boy. The other method, obviously, what you would do is you'd put this on, give it a couple of taps. Wouldn't recommend using your palm. I used to, but what ends up happening is you end up eventually damaging or hurting your hand, and just why bother? And maybe just a little bit of a tip. You'll see in mechanic shops, obviously, you know, with the vehicle being on the left, it's definitely easy to, you know, go ahead and get the stuff. But take your wheel and turn it so that it's actually turned out, so you can actually get in the area a little bit better. And then we'll put this massive breaker bar / ratchet on there. We'll break that free. So now that we actually have this free, pretty much just spin it out by hand. I'm not going to be able to spin out the top one by hand because I need both hands. One to hold the actual bracket and the one to hold the actual tool itself. The other thing that I'll point out is whenever you're working on stuff like this, there's all kinds of just sharpness going on, and just be careful because you might grab a glove or a finger or something like that. So nothing happened. It just happened to just grab something, because even though while I say wear gloves all the time, I usually don't, but in order for this video to be correct, wear your gloves, wear your PPE protection, personal protective equipment, I think that's what it's called, or something, I don't know, just do it. So now the next thing we'll do is we're going to push that wheel back. Actually, the rotor will come off, it'll just make it easier to work on, but we're just going to pop this rotor off. Just grab it by your hands and wrestle it off with one hand. Like I said, this rotor's in great shape. It is a little grooved here, but I don't know. Thickness-wise, it actually looks pretty mint. So again, now that you've got the stuff off, obviously you can go ahead and inspect stuff. I already know that, you know, the hub is fine, sensor's fine. You get a good look at that ground strap that broke off. That may be something that I'm gonna have to address. I'll have to look and see if a ground strap is something that this car is supposed to have. I'm assuming yes. So if I see that the other side of this car has a ground strap, that is something that I will address and reinstall. Not knowing whether if it needs it or not, I don't know. Like I said, being a Jaguar, it's got sensors all over the place. Now, I personally myself, I'm not really all that fond of the Duralast brand, but that is what the customer gave me, so I'm gonna use them. I mean, they're fine, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's good enough. This kind of brake rotor, being with this plastic on here, there probably is a coating on the rim. I can definitely see a coating here, and then obviously flipping it over, you can see there's some kind of discoloration here. Looks like there might even already be some pre-installed rust. On that side right there. So what I'm going to do is get some brake clean. We're going to wash down the back side of this rotor. We'll install it, throw it right on the hub, and then we'll wash down the front side of the rotor. And just make sure that you, yeah, I know I got my hat off. Just make sure that you don't touch it with your oily fingers, because that can be a problem. Not like a major problem, but yeah, just keep the oil off of it. I'll show you wear gloves when you do this. So I'm just going to take off this plastic right off of there. Take a little of my brake clean. Fresh paper towels. Just make sure you wear gloves. Alright. So that can of brake clean is junk. That's what I got the second can for. Just like that. We'll give it a nice wipe. Looks like there's a little bit more still right there. So. Like I was saying, make sure you wear gloves. Now I'm going to grab it from the inside. So I'm actually not going to touch the rotor surface. I'm going to peel off the plastic. And then now I can grab it by the hat section right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and install it. Easy doing this stuff with one hand here. Can't even see nothing. Is this even recording? Man, it's just the light. The light is terrible. So now I'm just going to take the rotor and install it in place, just like that. And then that's fine, just like that. Now I can take the brake clean and I will wash this side, wipe it down, and then be done with it. Now this side here, this is an old trick that I used to do just when I was a kid. You just take one of the lug nuts, toss it on, just pretty much just keeps it in place. And that way you can kind of let things go, and then we'll go ahead and clean up this bracket right here with a wire brush. You can see the contact points. We'll clean all that up on that side. Then we'll break open the new pads, and then we'll install the bracket back on, and then we will clean and check the actual caliper itself. Make sure that those little slide or guide rails or whatever you want to call them, where the calipers attach onto or slide and glide, we'll make sure everything's all set. And we'll also check the slide pins, the caliper slide pins. Yeah, we'll check the caliper slide pins. Now this is to show you the difference between the slide pins. So this slide pin is actually the lower slide pin. You can actually, and you can see that there's it's starting to get rust form. So I'm actually going to clean this up. I'm going to make it look like that one, and then we're going to use this stuff right there to coat these pins and then slide them right back into their pockets. I guess I just wanted to show this part, which I guess was kind of forgotten. So I just got a piece of sandpaper. I usually use like an emery cloth or steel wool, but this did have a good amount of rust. I lightly just hold the slide in my hand in the sandpaper, and then I give it a rotate with the gun. All you're looking to do is you're looking just to take that rust and contamination off. So you're not applying a lot of force. So we'll do it again. Huh?
If they have to do, I'll say it out loud.
And then pretty much like that. That's what the slide looks like, all cleaned up. Again, just don't put a lot of pressure on that. You're not looking to take the material down, you're just looking to take the rust and corrosion off. So, yeah, that's what the slide pin looks like. I could use steel wool on it now just to kind of finish it up, but like I said, I don't have any. So I also used brake clean, shot it obviously inside the caliper slide bolt holes, and cleaned it out with a paper towel, and now it's all clean and ready to accept the refreshed pins with grease. Like I said, it's driving me nuts that I don't have my steel wool, but I was able to clean up this spring retainer or tension clip. Yeah, so at least that's all cleaned up now. There's the Duralast brake pads that we're using. Contains a set of 1, which means not 1 per side, not meaning just 1 brake pad, but there's 4 of them in there. Obviously, that's why it says contains 1 set. So not a set of 2, it's a set of 4, left and right side, and left and right side. So left and right side of your rotor and left and right side of your vehicle. But this is what drives me nuts right here. Duralast brake pad, the official brakes of NASCAR. I don't think NASCAR is using any kind of this product that's in this box. This kind of stuff just drives me insane, because you know they're throwing that on there because they're like, oh, if it's good enough for NASCAR, it must be good enough for my car. Not the case. Alright, so here you go. Here's what it looks like inside. Remember to have clean hands when you're doing this. Normally the brake pads are going to be facing each other, so you can go ahead and reach in there and pull the whole thing of brake pad out. Looks like they were nice enough and gave me an elastic band. We're going to pop that elastic band off. Looks like they gave me 2. And we're going to take 1 set, leave it inside the box, take the other set, keeping those surfaces together until we're ready to install it. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to put the caliper bracket back on, which is that piece right there. I did actually clean up with a wire brush, just cleaned up the channels. The only thing that I'm not liking potentially is the grooves that are obviously being worn in there, but that's, you know, something that's normal. We could obviously take something that's got a higher grit and file these areas down, but we're actually good to go. Caliper bracket is now installed. You can see the upper bolt right there, lower bolt right there, and I torqued it to what's called click pounds. So we knew what it took to actually take that off, so we use the same strength to put them back on. So now we've got the brake pad installed. What we need to do, well, this is the old brake pad, but we got the old brake pad installed. What we need to do now is compress the piston back into the actual housing of the caliper, and that's as easy as using a tool such as this. This is from OEM Tools. It's 25-26-5, and it is a very simple, inexpensive way to push the piston back into its fully seated position. Now, the other thing that you'll have to do, you have to come over to the brake reservoir, and you may need to remove fluid. I'm checked in here already, and it seemed like the fluid level was fine. So as we compress that piston, obviously the fluid level is going to come up. We just want to maintain or watch that, but because that literal piston really doesn't need to be compressed much, I'm really not that worried about it. But what I am going to do is I'm actually going to keep this cap just cracked like that, just to allow for any like breathing room. See if I can do this. I've got it on the camera here. So all you want to do is just make sure that you apply that little backing plate up against there, and then basically just start to compress the piston. Just by applying pressure, you'll see it. It moves. It should move very easy. If it doesn't move easily, then you may have problems with the actual piston binding, and if that was the case, then you probably are going to want to replace the actual caliper itself. Now this one, I'm feeling pretty much no resistance, so we're just going to compress that all the way in until it stops. Now I'm just going to back it off. I want to check the actual boot itself to see how that's looking. Make sure there's no issues. Pop this off. And it looks like the boot is actually having issues. So that's what I was worried about. So the boot is kind of not compressing correctly. And I checked the condition of the boot too, so Well, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna see if that's actually all right. We're gonna leave it like that for now. It kind of looks a little funky right there. Does actually look like the boot's coming out. I was able to push that boot right back into place, so I think we're good now. So you just click in that inner pad. Obviously it has those 3 fingers or claws or whatever that grip inside the actual piston itself, so that's good, just like that. This is the part that's kind of hard, so I'm gonna try and wheel you in here. Well, it's not the part that's hard, it's actually not hard, but we're gonna take the other pad. Everything's in the way. We're gonna install that on this side, just like this. I'm going to roll this into position, just like this. Just slide it in, so it's in that spot. Looks like that's good right there. So obviously it's very loosely in place. We have to grease up the actual slide pins. We'll install them in through the back side, one right there, and one right there. And then as we tighten it up, everything will align. We can go ahead and put on a little spring clip, and yeah, then that at least the passenger side will be done. We might give it like a little bit of a wipe down, because you can see I actually did get a little bit of the caliper rust on there. It was the rust from the actual caliper when I had it sitting on the top, compressing the piston. But just make sure you clean up and make sure you do a good clean job. Make sure things are tight. You know what it took to actually take this apart, so try to use that same, if not just a touch more tension, to tighten things up, because a lot of times it's a lot harder to break a bolt free than it is to tighten it back up to that like same tightness. So give it like an extra little touch. So yeah, only kind of not done just because I should show you, I guess, just smearing this stuff on here. It's not, you don't need a lot. You just want to kind of coat it like that. And that right there, that actually should be good. Now, obviously, the other thing that I will do, I will inform the customer that there was a ground wire that looks like it should be connected down from the actual sensor to technically the body or ground of the car. But like I said, I'll check the other side and determine whether if that's the case or not. Most likely, like I said, because it's a Jaguar, yeah, it's probably supposed to be there. And don't forget to install your plugs that go into that back side of the caliper slides. Just make sure you put those in, make sure you clean them up, reinstall them, and then, yeah, move on. Now, the only thing that's left is to go ahead and reinstall your spring here. Like I said, very easy. You just put it on the way it came off. Don't really think that I can do this one-handed, but then again, maybe I can. It's just tough to kind of get that, wrap that around that edge right there. There we go. Hey, and I'm gonna just take something and tap that in. That probably wasn't even on camera. Just give it a tap, make sure it's just seated. Yeah, seated. Make sure it's seated in, both on that top and bottom. Just give it a couple light taps, and then there you go. So that is the brake install. All we did was just replace a rotor that, I don't know, maybe it's warped. Brake pads themselves actually seem fine. I know if this was my car, I would see no need to go ahead and do this, other than there is a little bit of glazing, so maybe that was part of the issue. I don't know. Well, definitely being brand new rotor, brand new pads. The actual piston itself seemed very good. It moved very easily, and that's something to pay attention to. Also, make sure you check your brake hose while you're there. The line that actually comes from that joint right there, follow it all the way down. Make sure you don't have any obvious like cracks or any kind of issues like that on it. Everything seemed fine, other than that boot kind of popping off a little bit, but I was able to kind of just weasel it back in place, and everything's good to go. So all right, battery's pretty much dead on this thing, but you can see right there, this is the ground wire right there. It's got a little bit of corrosion on it. It travels down the brake wire and then goes right into there, which of course you can't see because there's no flash. Anyways, there you go. So you can see there is supposed to be a ground wire. Like I said, I was kind of assuming that there was supposed to be a ground wire, only because, yeah, because of Jaguar. You know what I'm saying? Oh my god. This thing probably has ground wires all over the place. It's probably part of the problem. So I literally just opened up this Duralast box here. I'm telling you, this is why you don't buy this crap. So the rotor isn't even coated in anything. So it's basically pre-rusted. Probably has something to do with the fact that these rotors probably were sitting in the back of this car, which had moisture in the trunk. See, this is the stuff that you go through. I just rant over, right? I don't know. I don't even want to call it a rant. So anyways, yeah. So now we've got to surface prep the rotor before we even goddamn install it. So, yeah, Duralast, pieces of crap. Oh, and here's the other thing I noticed. So why does this rotor actually have... why does this actually have the screw that's supposed to go on... Not this car. Yeah. Also, when changing the oil on a 97 Jaguar XJR6 Supercharged, you're going to have to break out the big 3-0. Oh my god. It's just a riot. Do not use a pipe wrench. So that's the bolt right there you got to get at. It's a 30 millimeter. Make sure you use the correct tools. For a New England car, this isn't bad. This actually looks really nice. I also realized that I had the wrong hat on. So don't wear your good hat if you're working underneath the car. As a matter of fact, just don't wear a hat at all. Anyways, yeah, something else I wanted to show you. See right there? See that right there? See that little mark right there? Do not jack up the car by the pinch welds of the rocker panel. That is not how you do it. You're supposed to jack it up like around here somewhere. Not there. So yeah, little pro tip from What's Up Guy Garage. Stop jacking your cars on the pinch weld of the rocker panel when it's not designed to be. If you don't know where to jack up the car, find out. Read the manual. Usually the manual will tell you where. Or just use your brain. On older cars like this, don't jack them up on the rocker panel pinch welds. More wine bagging and complaints. I'm going to show you something. So we are replacing the oxygen sensors on this, and there are 4 of them, you know, fore and aft. And now that I've calmed down a little bit, so over here, right out in the open, 2 connectors sitting side by side. Those right there, sitting right out in the open, those are the ones that are before the catalytic converter, okay? Look at that. Nice and accessible, nice and easy. You got them right there. And then, obviously, the 2 lower ones, which are way down there, just, you know, beyond the catalytic converter. It's still pretty easy to reach, but the way they route the wiring is behind the engine, inside of these, like, little... I don't even think I can focus in on it. I know my eyes can see it. Can I get this to, like, focus in on there? I don't even think I can get it to focus in. Right there. I think that's it. Right in there. There's like a clip. I know, I just can't do it. I can't get it in there. Where is it? Right there. Oh, why do you, like, do that to me? Come on, get in there. Right in. Come on. Well, anyways, it's right in there behind the engine. It's like I don't know. Yes, I know it's more wine bagging, but literally the designer's just like literally just laughing. Let's put it next to the firewall, up on the top of the transmission, right behind the engine. They're never going to get it. They're never going to be able to get their mechanic hands back there. All right, back again. So, I just gotta... Earl, I know you know that that's your opener. And I know you're probably laughing your brains out right now. This is actually kind of part of the whole thing. Barry, Joe Daddy's Garage, you too. Alright, so you want to see where those connectors are? I wasn't kidding. Why? Like, literally, there's so many open spots that they could have routed these wires and put these connectors somewhere else. Check this out, right? So here's where the connectors are. Again, I don't even know if I can get in there. I think I have to illuminate it. So I'm kind of in there. See right there? See right there? See what my light is flashing on? Right there? Those are the oxygen sensors! No! Oh my god, come on, are you kidding me? Holy crap, what are you doing to me? Like literally, right there, that's them. How am I gonna get my hands in there? It's probably in the manual to replace the lower oxygen sensors. You got to remove the engine. Anyways, like I always say, if you like episodes like this from What's Up Guy Garage, you know what to do. Just hit that subscribe button. There's actually more coming. We are actually working on that thing right there, the Camaro, and who knows, maybe we'll work on that thing. Now that the warm weather's here, yeah, we also got to work on Big Black. So now we just got to do an oil change on this thing, and I don't really think you're interested in an oil change, so I'm out. See you later.